During our Sunday dinner, my son-in-law Michael started laughing. "What's it like being old and useless?" he asked loudly. The whole family giggled. Everyone except me. I just smiled sweetly and said, "How does it feel knowing this old lady won't be paying for your fancy life anymore?" Right when I said that, Michael's happy face turned white as paper and our dinner table became like a war zone. You won't believe what happened next. Before we keep going, please click the subscribe button and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. My name is Sarah, and Michael is married to my precious daughter Emma. "Getting older must be so boring," Michael said while spinning his expensive red wine in a fancy glass. "No job to go to, no important things to do, just sitting around all day." I put down my silver fork very carefully. My delicious roast beef was getting cold on the pretty white plate. We were sitting around my big wooden table, the same table I helped Emma buy when she got married. Tonight was special because we were celebrating Michael's new job as the big boss at his company. "It has good parts and bad parts," I said back to him, watching him drink more of the wine I brought as a congratulations gift. Michael leaned way back in his chair, the chair at the head of my table where he likes to sit now during family dinners. "Look, don't get me wrong, you did okay as a nurse back in the day. But that was like, 30 years ago. Everything's different now. It's all about computers and being fast. You need a young brain to really make it big." Emma moved around in her seat, looking uncomfortable. Her beautiful silver bracelet, my Christmas gift to her, caught the candlelight. "Michael, Mom had a wonderful job. She helped save people's lives at the hospital." Sure, Michael waved his hand like he was shooing away a fly. "But let's be honest here. When was the last time you actually did something? Made something happen? Built something real?" My grandson Jake, who's only 8 years old, looked up from his chicken nuggets. "Grandma helped me build an awesome fort in the backyard last month." "That's sweet, kiddo." Michael patted Jake's head like he was petting a dog. "But Grandma needs to understand that real grown-ups take care of their families by working hard. Not everyone gets to just relax all day while other people do the heavy lifting." The quiet felt really uncomfortable. Emma tried to laugh but it sounded fake. "Maybe we should talk about something else. Sophie, tell Grandma about your art class." But Michael wasn't done talking yet. He'd gotten this new fancy job and felt like the king of everything, plus the wine was making him say mean things. "Actually, I've been thinking about something," he continued, making big gestures with his hands. "Now that I'm making real money, like a lot of money, maybe it's time everyone started pulling their own weight around here." I knew exactly what he meant by that. For 12 long years I'd been helping them pay for things. Their house payments, car payments, the kids' school, doctor visits. 12 years of quietly helping while watching Michael spend money like it grew on trees. "Take Emma for example," he said, pointing at my daughter. "She's been staying home with the kids for so long, living off of, well, let's call it family help. Maybe it's time she got a real job again." Emma's face turned red like a tomato. She knew, just like I did, that their whole fancy life was built on my quiet help. The kids' expensive school uniforms hanging by the door, Michael's shiny black car in the driveway, their kitchen that looked like something from a fancy magazine. All of it was only possible because of my money. Little Sophie, who's 10 years old, could feel something was wrong. "Are we in trouble, Daddy?" "No, sweetheart. But it's important to know the difference between people who work hard for their money and people who just gave up trying." He looked right at me when he said that last part. The insult hung in the air like thick smoke. Emma reached for her wine glass with shaky hands. The children looked at each other with worried faces like they do when thunder gets really loud during storms. Michael leaned forward, feeling brave because he thought I was just going to sit there quietly like always. "I don't want to be mean here, Sarah, but someone needs to ask the hard questions. When was the last time you did something that mattered? When did you last feel proud about earning your own way instead of just existing?" He stopped talking for a second, enjoying what he thought was his big moment of being the boss. "How does it feel to be such a failure?" That question hit me like someone threw a cold bucket of water on my head. Emma made a shocked gasp sound. Jake dropped his fork and it made a loud clang on his plate. Sophie started crying quietly, but I didn't even flinch or move. Instead, I took a slow sip of my water, put the glass down very carefully, and looked Michael right in his mean eyes. "How does it feel?" I said in a calm, clear voice. "To know this failure won't be paying your bills anymore?" The color left Michael's face faster than water going down a drain. Emma's hand flew up to cover her mouth. The kids stared with wide eyes as their daddy's proud smile crashed and burned like a toy airplane hitting the ground. I kept eating my dinner, cutting each piece of meat very slowly and carefully, while everyone sat there in shocked silence. Outside, it was getting dark in our neighborhood, and I could hear Mrs. Peterson's little dog barking somewhere far away. After what felt like forever, I wiped my mouth with a soft cloth napkin, stood up, and gave Jake and Sophie goodbye kisses. "Thank you for the delicious dinner, Emma. It was really, really good." I walked to the front door, got my coat from the closet, and stepped out into the cool evening air, leaving behind a table full of people who were finally starting to understand what 12 years of quiet helping had really meant. The 20-minute drive home was completely quiet. My hand stayed steady on the car's steering wheel even though there was a big storm of feelings inside me. I pulled into my driveway and the automatic light turned on, making long shadows across my front steps. Inside my house, I hung up my coat in the hall closet and walked straight to my office. The room smelled like old books and the special polish I use on my wooden furniture. I turned on my favorite brass lamp, and its warm yellow light showed 12 years of perfectly organized file cabinets. Since I used to be a nurse, I kept every single receipt, every bank paper, every check copy. Time to see exactly what my failure had cost me. I opened the first drawer labeled 2012 to 2015. The folders were organized by color. Blue ones for house payment help, green for car loans, yellow for school costs, red for doctor bills. My husband David had died in late 2011, and by January 2012, Emma was already having money troubles. The first house payment help was $2,200 in February, then another $2,200 in March, then the same again. I spread all the papers across my big wooden desk, making neat rows of numbers under the lamplight. $2,200 every single month for 144 months. My calculator showed $316,800 just for house payment help alone. Next came the car payments. Michael's fancy black car lease, Emma's family van loan, $850 every month for 10 years. Another $102,000. The numbers kept getting bigger and bigger. Each folder showed another layer of generous help I'd forgotten about. Private school bills filled up a whole drawer by themselves. Jake's education from baby preschool through 2nd grade. Sophie's from toddler classes through 4th grade. Fancy schools with swimming pools and teachers who spoke different languages. $18,000 every year, sometimes more for summer camps and sports. 12 years of school costs $288,000. Doctor bills when Michael was between jobs, teeth cleaning for the kids, emergency hospital visits, Emma's counseling after she got really sad 3 years ago. Each envelope had hundreds of small receipts, insurance papers, medical bills I quietly paid. $6,000 every year for 12 years. $72,000. I found vacation receipts hidden behind insurance papers. Disney World in 2018, a big cruise ship trip to Europe in 2020. Ski trips to the mountains. Christmas presents, emergency car fixes. Money for Emma's kitchen to look fancy. Another $55,000 in extra help. The final number made me sit back in my comfortable leather chair. $833,800. Almost $1 million. For the first time since David's funeral, I felt the heavy weight of that promise I made by his hospital bed. "Don't worry about Emma," I whispered to my dying husband. "I'll make sure she's safe and has everything she needs." I remembered Emma's tears at the funeral, how scared she was about the house payment she and Michael couldn't afford by themselves. How grateful she was back then, calling me every week to say thank you, sending me homemade cookies, bringing the grandkids for Sunday visits. When did the thank you words stop? When did my help become something she expected instead of something special I chose to give? I pulled out my own money papers, the ones showing what I gave up for them. My smaller savings account because I stopped putting money away for myself. My tiny 2-bedroom house instead of the beautiful lake house I wanted. The 18-year-old truck in my garage while Michael drove expensive cars. The travel magazines I collected but never used because Emma always needed something important. The hobbies I stopped doing. The lady from church who stopped asking me to dinner because I was always busy helping family. I'd given them almost $1 million and 12 years of my own dreams. At 11 o'clock that night, I reached for my phone and my list of bank phone numbers. Tomorrow would bring interesting conversations with automatic payment people. Sunday morning, my coffee tasted different. Stronger somehow. I sat at my kitchen table watching little birds fight over breadcrumbs outside my window, then went back to my office where neat stacks of papers waited like toy soldiers ready for battle. First National Bank answered after 3 rings. Account services, this is Jennifer. How can I help you today? I need to cancel automatic payments from checking account 784321567889, I said in the same steady voice I used for 12 years of nurse work. May I have the last 4 numbers of your social security number to make sure it's really you? The whole thing took 15 minutes. Jennifer was nice, professional, and had no idea she was taking apart 12 years of money help with each button she pressed on her computer. Those payments are now stopped, Mrs. Johnson. Is there anything else I can help you with today? That's everything. Thank you so much. I put a check mark next to house payment help. $2,200 per month. Colorado Mountain Insurance needed a supervisor. The fancy car lease cancellation needed me to talk to 3 different people. Each phone call was the same. Polite checking to make sure it was really me. Quick computer work, confirmation numbers I carefully wrote in my notebook. By 12:30 in the afternoon, I'd crossed off 10 things from my list. My phone rang at 12:15. Mom! Emma's voice sounded confused but not scared yet. Something weird happened with our house payment. The bank called saying there wasn't enough money in the account. But that doesn't make sense because you thought I'd keep paying forever, I finished her sentence. Silence stretched between us like a tight rubber band. What do you mean? Her voice went up high like when she was little and got in trouble. Exactly what I said last night. I'm not paying your bills anymore. But Mom, you can't just. The house payment, the insurance, Jake's school. Everything stops as of this morning. I could hear her breathing get fast and scared. This isn't funny. We'll lose our house. Then you'll need to figure out how to pay for it yourselves. The phone line went quiet with a click sound. My notebook showed 8 more calls to make. The electric company was surprisingly fast and easy. Little Mountain Academy's money office asked fewer questions than I thought they would. Each confirmation number went into my book with robot-like precision. Emma called back at 1:45. Her voice was tight with real fear now. Mom, please. I don't understand what's happening. The school called, the insurance company called, even the electric company called. They're all saying our payments were declined. Because I cancelled all the automatic transfers from MY accounts. Your accounts? The question came out like a whisper. Did you think these payments just appeared by magic, Emma? Another long quiet moment. But we never asked you to pay for everything. You never asked because you never had to ask. I just did it automatically. We can't afford. She stopped herself. Sweetie. That's exactly the point. At 1:50 my phone rang again. This time Michael's voice came through, trying to sound like the boss. Sarah, whatever silly game you're playing needs to stop right now. No game, just real life. You can't destroy our family because your feelings got hurt at dinner. I'm not destroying anything. I'm just stopping my money help. You wanted to know how it feels to be a failure. Well, now you can figure out your own bills and find out. His silence lasted even longer than Emma's. The last call on my list was to my money helper man. Monday morning we talk about putting those monthly payments into my forgotten retirement savings account. Outside, The little birds had found more crumbs to fight over. At 2:30 in the afternoon, I heard the familiar sound of Michael's fancy black car pulling into my driveway. Through my living room window, I watched him slam the car door really hard. Emma got out of the passenger seat, holding her purse tight like a security blanket. They marched up my front walkway like soldiers who thought they were going to win a battle. I opened the door before they could knock. "We need to talk," Michael said, pushing past me without being invited. Emma followed behind with red, puffy eyes from crying. "Please come in," I said to their backs, even though they were already inside. Michael stood in the middle of my living room like a king claiming his castle. "This ridiculous tantrum of yours ends right now. You will call those banks immediately and put back every single payment." "No, I won't." His face turned red like a fire truck. "You can't just cut us off without warning us first. There are legal things like verbal contracts. Show me the contract where I agreed to pay your bills until the end of time." Emma stepped forward with her voice shaking like a leaf. "Mom, please think about what Dad would want. Remember what you promised at his funeral." Talking about David hit me like a cold wind, but I was ready for this trick. "I promised to help you get stable and secure. 12 years and almost $1 million later, you're less stable than when we started. $1 million. Emma's whisper could barely be heard across the room. I walked to my desk and got my calculator and notebook. $833,800. House help, car payments, insurance, school money, doctor bills, vacations, emergencies. Should I read each category out loud? Michael's tough act fell apart for exactly 4 seconds. Then he said, "That's impossible. We never asked for that much money. You never asked for anything. You just expected it automatically." Emma fell onto my couch with her face white as snow. "But what about the children? Jake's baseball team, Sophie's dance classes. Those will continue, but I'll pay the schools and activities directly from now on. No more money going through you and Michael. You can't split up the family like that." Michael snapped angrily. "We're supposed to be a team. Teams need people to respect each other. When was the last time either of you said thank you for anything?" The question hung in the air with no answer. Emma's tears started slow, then built up to the desperate crying I remembered from when she was a teenager having boy problems. "I didn't know it was so much money. I thought you wanted to help us. I thought it made you happy. It did make me happy until you stopped being grateful and started demanding it." Michael paced around my carpet like a tiger in a cage. "Fine. You want gratitude. Thank you. Now put the payments back." "Gratitude doesn't work backwards, Michael." His pacing stopped completely. For the first time since coming into my house, he looked actually worried instead of just angry. "What exactly do you want from us?" "I want you to figure out how to live on the money you actually make. I want my grandchildren to see their parents working for what they have instead of expecting free handouts. I want to be treated like a mom and grandma, not like a walking ATM machine." Emma looked up through her tears. "What if we can't do it? What if we lose everything? Then you'll learn what failure actually feels like." The silence was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Michael straightened his shoulders, trying to get some of his business confidence back. "We'll see about this. There are lawyers who help when old people get taken advantage of financially." I almost smiled at that. "Please call them. I'd love to explain how I've been financially taken advantage of for 12 years straight." They left without saying another word. Michael's fancy car made loud, angry noises as he drove away too fast. I stood at my window watching them disappear down the street and realized my hands were shaking like leaves. Complete silence filled my house like water filling up a broken fish tank. I collapsed into my leather chair, the one David gave me for our 15th wedding anniversary, and stared at our wedding photo on the fireplace shelf. Emma's big happy smile, Michael's humble polka dot tie, David's proud face next to mine. That picture was from 2010. Michael worked at a small insurance office then, drove a 12-year-old Honda, and called me ma'am with real respect. "Mrs. Johnson, he'd said during our first private talk. "I want you to know I'll take really good care of Emma. I might not have much money right now, but I'm working super hard to build something good enough for your daughter." The humble sound in his voice seemed real back then. I believed every word he said. 3 years later, David was gone. Cancer took him in 5 terrible months, leaving Emma completely heartbroken and Michael scrambling to pay their small house payment on his beginning salary. The 2012 money crisis had just happened, and his company was firing lots of people. At David's funeral, Emma fell against my chest crying. "Mom, I don't know how we'll make it. Michael's job isn't safe. The house payments are too big." "Don't worry, sweetie," I whispered while holding my sad daughter. "I'll help until you both get stable and secure." Until you get stable. Not forever and ever. Those first years, Michael's thank you words were overwhelming. Handwritten thank you cards, weekend visits where he'd fix my broken fence or cut my grass. Emma called twice every week just to check on me, bringing the grandkids for Sunday dinners at my house. "Mom, you're literally saving our lives," she'd say with tears in her eyes. "We'll pay you back when things get better." The first house payment help. $2,200. "Just for 8 months, Michael promised. Until I get promoted to a better job." The car loan help. $350 every month. "Just until we build some savings from the house." Jake's private school money. $1,500 monthly. Just for kindergarten to give him a strong start. Each just until became permanent and expected. Each temporary help became something they counted on forever. By 2015, the thank you cards had stopped coming. Michael's weekend visits became occasional times when he'd drink my soda and complain about his mean boss. Emma's grateful phone calls became monthly requests for more help. "Mom, can you pay for Sophie's art classes? It's only $150 a month." "Mom, the kids need new tablets for school." "Mom, our vacation rental got cancelled. Can you help us find a different place?" The word please disappeared first, then thank you. Finally, even can you became you need to. By 2020, Michael had stopped saying anything about my help at all. At neighborhood barbecues, he'd brag about his house improvements, his kids' fancy education, his successful lifestyle. When neighbors said nice things about his shiny car, he'd smile with pride about his smart money planning. Emma started defending him instead of me. When I gently suggested they try paying some bills by themselves, she'd get irritated and snappy. "Mom, you don't understand how modern families work. Michael has enormous pressure at his job. The children have routines they're used to. You can't just mess everything up because you're feeling unappreciated." Unappreciated. That word hit like someone punched me in the stomach. Last Christmas, neither of them said anything about my help. Michael gave a speech about his hard work taking care of the family. Emma posted pictures on Facebook of their expensive gifts with words about blessed family success. I sat in my small living room looking at their old thank you cards from 2012, wondering when being grateful had turned into feeling entitled to everything. Now sitting here as darkness came over my house, I understood what David would have really wanted. Not endless helping that never stopped, but dignity and respect. Not unlimited generosity, but being treated like the money mattered. Outside, shadows got longer across my front yard, and somewhere far away, a phone started ringing. 4 days passed like watching dominoes fall down in slow motion. Monday morning brought the first bank letters in the mail. Emma called at 10:15, her voice thin and scared. "Mom, they're saying our house payment failed. There's a $85 penalty fee. The bank wants $2,285 by Wednesday or they'll start taking our house away." I said nothing at all. The silence went on and on until she hung up the phone. By lunchtime, Michael's fancy car lease company had left 3 angry voicemails about their missed $750 payment. Emma's family van loan, another $420 monthly, bounced back with a $60 penalty. Their house insurance got cancelled at 4 o'clock when the automatic payment failed completely. Tuesday brought deeper trouble like a flood. Emma called again, this time with Michael yelling loudly in the background. "We can't pay for everything." Her voice cracked like breaking glass. "I applied at McDonald's, Walmart, and 4 restaurants. Even if I get hired right away, they're only offering $11 an hour. That's barely $1,800 a month before taxes get taken out." For the first time in 12 years, she was doing math about survival. Wednesday afternoon, I drove past Little Mountain Academy during kid pickup time. Jake and Sophie stood with other children whose school money had been paid on time. The school had called Emma that morning demanding $3,600 immediately, or the kids would be kicked out by Friday. That evening, my neighbor Mrs. Garcia mentioned hearing loud voices from Emma's house during her evening walk. "Sounds like money troubles," she said sadly. The young man was yelling something about credit cards being completely maxed out. Thursday brought the big crash. Emma's 4th call came at 3:45 in the afternoon. "Mom, please. I went to 6 job interviews yesterday. Burger King, a house cleaning company, 2 grocery stores. They all want references from recent jobs. I haven't worked since 2012. Her voice had lost its demanding sound, replaced by something I hadn't heard in years: being humble. "Michael tried to pay the house payment yesterday. Our bank account has $2,400. The payment is $2,285. He paid it, then realized we couldn't buy food, pay for electricity, or put gas in the cars. He had to call the bank back and cancel the payment." I stayed completely quiet. The fancy car lease company scheduled someone to come take Michael's car on Monday. They're taking it unless we pay $750 plus a $250 restart fee. More silence from me. "Mom," her voice became very tiny. "I think we're going to lose everything we have." "Yes," I said quietly. "You probably will." She started crying then, deep, painful sobs that reminded me of her teenage heartbreaks. But this wasn't teenage drama. This was grown-up consequences for grown-up choices. Friday morning, I sat in my office looking at my new money plan. Those monthly payments I'd been making would now go toward the European riverboat trip David and I had planned before he got sick, the Italian cooking classes, the photography workshop in Ireland. My phone rang at 12:45. Michael this time, and his voice had none of its previous mean arrogance. "Sarah, we need to talk like adults about how we can fix this mess." "We've already talked." "No, we need to really talk as grown-ups about how we can make this work." "You mean how I can fix your mess?" Really long pause. "Yes," he said. "That's exactly what I mean." At least he was finally being honest about it. "Come over Sunday afternoon. Bring everyone, including the children. What should we be ready to discuss?" "Reality," I said and hung up the phone. Outside my window, the first spring flowers were starting to push up through the dirt. Monday morning, my friend Helen from the grocery store called, sounding worried. "Sarah, I heard something troubling yesterday. Michael was at O'Malley's restaurant telling people you cut off your family without any warning. Said you're forcing the kids out of private school because you're mad about something." I put down my coffee cup very slowly. What exactly did he tell people? Called it financial abandonment of innocent grandchildren. Used lots of fancy business words. Made it sound like you're punishing Emma for something silly and small. By Tuesday, Emma had called my late husband's brother, Uncle Jim. Jim called me that afternoon with his voice tight and disapproving. "Emma says you've abandoned them when they need help the most." She was crying, Sarah. Said the children don't understand why Grandma doesn't love them anymore. Did she mention the $833,800 I've given them over 12 years? Long silence. She, what? Almost $1 million, Jim. House payments, car loans, insurance, school money, doctor bills, vacations. Every single month for 12 years. That can't possibly be right. I have papers proving every single penny. The next morning, Sophie called me. Her little voice sounding like she'd practiced what to say. "Grandma, Mommy says we might lose our house because you don't want to help us anymore. Did we do something really, really bad?" My heart felt like it was breaking, but I kept my voice gentle and kind. You didn't do anything wrong, sweetie. Would you like me to pick you up for ice cream this afternoon? Mommy says you might say no to everything now. I never say no to ice cream with my favorite granddaughter. That afternoon at Sonny's ice cream shop, Sophie's practiced sadness melted away like ice cream in the sun as she told me about her science project. When I took her home, Emma watched from the window with sneaky, calculating eyes. Wednesday brought a more direct fight. Linda Murphy, a longtime neighbor, came up to me at the post office. "Sarah Johnson, I'm ashamed of you." Her voice was so loud that 5 other people could hear her. "Cutting off your own daughter when she needs you most. What would David think?" I looked at her calmly. David would think 12 years and almost $1 million was generous enough. Linda's angry righteousness started falling apart. $1 million. $833,800 to be exact. House help, car payments, school money, insurance payments, doctor bills, vacation expenses. Would you like to see all my bank records? Other people getting their mail had stopped to listen. Linda's face turned green. Emma never mentioned any of that. Emma mentions very little about what she gets from me, Linda. Only what she wants other people to hear. That evening Helen called again. Michael was back at O'Malley's tonight, trying the same story. But Rick Thompson was there. Remember Rick? He sold them that fancy car 4 years ago. What did Rick say? Asked how Michael could afford a $55,000 car on his salary. When Michael started making excuses, Rick mentioned he remembered you co-signing the lease papers. The whole restaurant got quiet really fast. Thursday morning brought a call from my old hospital friend Patricia. Heard some interesting gossip at the coffee shop, but also heard your side from Helen. Mind if I ask you directly? Did you really support them for 12 years straight? Every single month since David died. And they never said thank you after the first few years. Last Christmas, Michael gave a big speech about his hard work providing for the family. Emma posted pictures of their expensive gifts on Facebook with hashtags about blessed family success. Patricia made a low whistling sound. That's really cold, Sarah. Really, really cold. Friday evening, I was watering my front flower garden when Mrs. Garcia came over to talk. "Mrs. Johnson, my daughter heard something at school pickup today. Parents talking about family drama. She said some people are questioning the story your son-in-law has been telling around town." I kept watering my pretty roses. People have a right to their own opinions. She also said you've been very generous to those children over the years. Very generous, and I love my grandchildren. Of course you do. That's never been questioned by anyone. Saturday morning, Emma called with her voice high and desperate. "People are asking uncomfortable questions, Mom. Questions about money and timelines and bank records. You need to stop spreading lies about us." "I haven't spread anything, Emma. I've simply answered questions honestly when people ask me directly. You're destroying our good reputation in this community." "I'm not destroying anything, sweetie. I'm just no longer paying to create false ones." The phone line went dead with a loud click. Sunday came with clear, beautiful skies and the knowledge that by afternoon we'd all be sitting in my living room again. But this time the whole community would be watching and listening. The family meeting never actually happened. By Monday morning, reality had made other plans instead. Helen called me at 9:30. "Sarah, I saw a foreclosure notice posted on Emma's front door yesterday evening. Big official paper from the county courthouse." I put my coffee down very carefully on the kitchen table. 30 days. They had 30 days to pay $9,125. 4 months of missed house payments plus penalties and legal fees. Tuesday morning brought more big changes. Michael's fancy black car was gone from their driveway, replaced by a 12-year-old gray Honda Civic. Mrs. Garcia mentioned seeing Michael at the Honda car lot looking completely defeated while Emma filled out paperwork for a much cheaper car. "The monthly savings must be really significant," she observed quietly. That fancy car lease was probably costing them almost $900 every month. Wednesday afternoon, I stopped by the grocery store and saw Emma behind the checkout counter, wearing a blue vest with a name tag, scanning people's groceries with robot-like movements. When Mrs. Patterson came to her checkout line, Emma's face turned bright red like a fire truck. "Emma dear, I didn't know you were working here now." "Started Monday," Emma said quietly, not looking up at her. "Paper bag or plastic bag?" Her work shift ended at 7 o'clock. I watched through the big window as she walked to the old gray Honda. Her shoulders bent down with tiredness. That evening, Jake called me on the phone. "Grandma, Mom and Dad are fighting again. Really loudly this time." "What are they fighting about, buddy?" "Money stuff. Dad said Mom's job doesn't pay enough to help. Mom said Dad never made enough money either. Then they said mean things about you." "What kind of mean things?" "That you ruined everything on purpose." But then Mom started crying and said maybe they ruined it themselves. Thursday morning brought the sound of loud, angry voices from their house during my morning walk. Through the thin walls, I heard little pieces of their fight. 10 hours on my feet for almost nothing. Never appreciated what we had. Your pride got us into this mess. 12 years of free handouts and now. The arguing stopped suddenly, replaced by the sound of a door slamming hard and Michael's Honda starting up with angry engine noises. That afternoon, Sophie came to visit me, her usual happy cheerfulness replaced by big worry. "Grandma, why is everything so different now?" I got her comfortable at my kitchen table with chocolate chip cookies and cold milk. "What feels different to you, sweetheart?" "Mom's always tired and sad. Dad gets angry about everything. They talk about losing our house. Jake heard them say we might have to go to different schools. How do you feel about all that?" "Scared but also." She stopped talking and looked down. "Also like maybe they should have said thank you more often." Out of the mouths of little children. Friday evening I was reading my favorite book in my office when the doorbell rang. Michael stood on my front porch all by himself. His usual business confidence completely gone. His normally neat shirt was wrinkled and messy. His tie was loose, and his face showed the kind of tiredness I'd never seen before. "Sarah, I need to talk to you. Just the two of us, man to woman." I invited him into my living room, the same room where he had demanded I put back all the payments just 3 weeks ago. He sat down heavily in my chair, his hands squeezed tightly together between his knees. "The foreclosure is real. 30 days to come up with the money. Emma's working 45 hours a week for $12.50 an hour. After taxes get taken out, that's maybe $1,200 a month. I'm bringing home about $4,200 monthly after taxes. The house payment alone is $2,285. He looked up at me with something that looked like being humble. "We can't make it work, Sarah. Not even close. We never could we? Without me helping, I mean." "No," I said quietly. "You never could. I've been thinking about something you said about earning respect versus just expecting it." His voice cracked a little bit. "I never really earned anything, did I? The house, the cars, the kids' fancy schools. None of it was really mine because I worked for it. What do you want from me, Michael? I want to know if there's a way to move forward from this mess. Not back to how things were before, but forward to something better and more honest." Outside, the street lights were starting to turn on as darkness came over our quiet neighborhood. Saturday afternoon, I was organizing my money papers when the doorbell rang again. Emma stood on my front porch in her blue grocery store vest, her face streaked with tears and complete exhaustion. "Mom, please. We need to talk about Jake and Sophie." She looked totally different, smaller somehow. The entitled confidence I'd watched grow over 12 years had completely crumbled, leaving behind the scared daughter I remembered from David's funeral. I invited her into my living room. She fell into the same chair where Michael had sat the night before, her hands shaking as she took off her work name tag. 6 days, she whispered like it was a secret. 6 days until they finish taking our house away. Jake keeps asking if we're really going to lose our home. Sophie had bad dreams last night about moving to a strange place she doesn't know. What do you want from me, Emma? I want my children to have a stable place to live. I want them to finish the school year with their friends. I want Sophie to sleep through the night without crying about leaving her pretty bedroom. She looked up at me with eyes that had no tricks or manipulation in them, only raw fear like a mama bear protecting her cubs. I've been working 45 hours a week on my feet, scanning groceries for people who used to be my friends. Yesterday, Mrs. Rodriguez came through my checkout line and asked why I was working there. I wanted to crawl under the counter and disappear forever. But you didn't hide. No. I smiled my best smile and asked, paper or plastic? Because I finally understand what work means, what earning means, what you've been trying to teach us all along. She wiped her nose with a tissue from her purse. Michael told me about your conversation last night. He said you asked if there was a way to move forward. There might be, but it would require big changes from both of you. Tell me what you want. I leaned forward in my chair. I'll pay Jake and Sophie's school money directly to Little Mountain Academy. I'll pay for their clothes, doctor visits, sports activities, and music lessons. I'll start college savings accounts for both of them. Emma's face got bright with the first hope I'd seen in weeks. But, I continued, I won't pay your house payment, car payments, insurance, or any grown-up lifestyle expenses. You and Michael will live on the money you actually make. Period. We can do that. We'll move to a smaller place. Find something we can actually afford. There's more to my offer. I want public recognition of the 12 years and $833,800 I've given you. I want sincere public apologies for the disrespect and entitlement. I want real gratitude, not just when you need something. Emma's face crumpled like a paper bag. Michael will never agree to public apologies. His pride won't let him. Then his pride is more important than his children's stability and security. We sat in complete silence while she thought about this reality. What kind of public recognition do you want? A letter to the community news newspaper explaining how I've supported your family and thanking me for my generosity. An honest Facebook post about 12 years of financial help. Face-to-face apologies to the people you've lied to over the past 3 weeks. And if we do this, all of it, your children will have educational security and their grandmother's love. You'll have a relationship with me based on honesty and mutual respect. But you'll also have a lifestyle limited by what you and Michael actually earn together. Emma covered her face with her hands like she was hiding. I don't know if I can convince him to do it. You have 24 hours to decide. After that, my offer disappears forever. She stood up slowly, her grocery vest wrinkled from the long, hard day. At my front door, she turned back around. Mom, thank you for still caring about Jake and Sophie even when you're mad at us. I never stopped caring about any of you, Emma. I just stopped enabling your bad choices. After she drove away in the old gray Honda, I sat in my living room watching the evening news on TV. Somewhere across town, a very difficult conversation was about to begin. Emma's Honda pulled into their driveway at 6:45. Through my neighbor Helen's later report, I learned exactly how the evening went. Michael was heating up leftover Chinese food when Emma came into the kitchen, still wearing her grocery store vest. He looked up from the microwave, noticing her red, puffy eyes and exhausted posture. Where have you been? Your shift ended at 4 o'clock. I went to see Mom. The microwave made its beep sound in the silence that followed. Michael pulled out the steaming food, put it on the counter, and turned to look at his wife completely. You went behind my back after everything we talked about handling this together. We're out of time, Michael. 6 days until foreclosure. The children are terrified. I had to try something. Emma sank into a kitchen chair, pulling off her name tag with trembling fingers. She's willing to help, but there are conditions. What kind of conditions? She'll pay for Jake and Sophie's school, clothes, activities, doctor visits. She'll set up college savings accounts for both of them. Michael's face got bright and happy. That's fantastic. When does she restart the house payments? She doesn't. We have to live on what we actually make. The happiness disappeared instantly like a popped balloon. That's impossible, Emma. You know our expenses are too big. She wants something else too. Emma's voice dropped to barely louder than a whisper. Public apologies. Recognition of the 12 years and $833,800 she supported us. Michael's face went white, then bright red like a tomato. She wants me to humiliate myself publicly. Admit I've been what, a charity case? Michael. She spent nearly $1 million on us. $1 million. Do you understand what that means? It means she chose to help family. That's what mothers do. Emma stood up slowly, her grocery vest wrinkled and stained with food. No, that's what saints do. And we treated her like a walking ATM machine. From upstairs came the sound of Jake's voice calling down. Mom, Dad, why are you yelling again? Both parents stopped, realizing their voices had gotten loud and angry. Sophie appeared at the top of the stairs in her pink pajamas, rubbing her sleepy eyes. Are you fighting about Grandma again? Emma climbed the stairs to comfort her daughter while Michael paced around the kitchen, his hands squeezed into tight fists. When Emma came back down 25 minutes later, she found him staring at the foreclosure notice on the counter. I won't do it, he said without looking up. I won't stand in front of our neighbors and admit I'm a failure who couldn't provide for his own family. Then what's your solution? Where are we going to live? Where will the children go to school? We'll figure something out. Get a loan. File for bankruptcy. Something. Anything but crawling to your mother and begging forgiveness for imaginary sins. Emma pulled out her phone and opened the calculator app. Okay, let's figure it out together. Our combined monthly income is $5,400. The house payment is $2,285. That leaves $3,115 for everything else. She kept typing numbers. Car payment for the Honda, $280. Insurance, $220. Electric and water bills, $250. Groceries, $500. Gas for the car, $180. That's $1,430, leaving us $1,685. See, we can make it work just fine. I haven't added the children's expenses yet. Jake's baseball league, $95 monthly. Sophie's dance classes, $75. Both kids need school supplies, clothes, doctor copays, birthday party gifts, Christmas presents. Emma's voice started cracking. Michael, we can't afford our children's basic needs. Through the thin walls, Jake's voice drifted down again. Mom, Sophie's crying again. She says we're going to be homeless. Emma looked at her husband with eyes that held no trace of the entitled woman who had demanded her mother restore their payments 3 weeks ago. We have 18 hours to decide. Mom's offer expires tomorrow at noon. She walked upstairs to comfort her children, leaving Michael alone in the kitchen with a foreclosure notice and a calculator that couldn't make their impossible math work no matter how many times he tried. Monday morning at 11:30, the Honda pulled into my driveway, carrying all 4 of them. Through my front window, I watched Michael get out of the passenger seat with the defeated posture of a man who'd spent the night staring at the ceiling. Emma knocked on my door, with Jake and Sophie standing beside her in their school clothes. Michael stood behind them, his business shirt wrinkled, his eyes red with exhaustion. Mom, we need to accept your offer. All of it. I invited them into my living room. The children sat on my couch while Emma took the same chair she'd used Saturday. Michael remained standing, his hands clasped behind his back like a soldier awaiting orders. The bank called this morning, Emma continued. Foreclosure happens at 4 o'clock this afternoon unless we pay $9,125. We don't have it. Sophie tugged on my sleeve. Grandma, are we really going to lose our house? Not if I can help it, sweetheart. Michael cleared his throat loudly. Sarai, I need to say some things. He walked to my fireplace shelf, looking at the wedding photo of David and me, then turned to face his family. 12 years ago, you offered to help us temporarily. I took that help and turned it into a permanent thing without ever recognizing what you were sacrificing." His voice cracked a little. "I told people the house improvements came from my success at work. I bragged about the cars like I'd earned them. I let Jake and Sophie think their grandmother was just being nice instead of being their actual provider." Emma reached over and took Sophie's small hand. "Mom, I owe you apologies too. I took your generosity and treated it like inheritance, like something I deserved instead of something you chose to give." "You paid our house payment for 12 years, Michael added. $316,800. You paid our car loans, insurance, school money, doctor bills, vacations, Christmas gifts, birthday parties, dance classes, baseball leagues." Jake looked up with big, surprised eyes. "Grandma paid for my baseball. Grandma paid for everything," Emma said quietly. "Almost $1 million over 12 years. Sophie's small voice cut through the heavy air. "Why didn't you tell us?" Emma's face turned red with shame. "Because we were embarrassed. Not of Grandma's help, but of how we acted like we didn't need it." I leaned forward in my chair. "If I help you keep the house today, things will be completely different. I'll pay Jake and Sophie's school money directly to Little Mountain Academy. I'll cover their doctor visits, clothing, activities, and college savings accounts. But I won't pay your house payment, car payments, or any grown-up lifestyle expenses. You'll live on what you actually make." Michael nodded slowly like his head was heavy. "We understand completely. There's more. I want public recognition. A letter to the community news newspaper thanking me for 12 years of support. Social media posts expressing real gratitude. Face-to-face apologies to the neighbors you've lied to." "When do you want this done?" Emma asked. "This week, before Saturday." Michael's jaw got tight, but he nodded again. "What else do you want?" "Monthly family dinners here at my house. Not to check on your finances, but to maintain proper relationships. To remember that family means respect, not entitlement." I stood up and walked to my desk, pulling out my checkbook. "I'm going to call First National Bank and arrange an emergency payment. But this is the last house payment I ever make for you. After today, you succeed or fail on your own income." As I picked up the phone to call the bank, I heard Sophie whisper to her mother, "Are we going to be okay now?" Emma's voice was soft but certain. "Yes, sweetheart. We're going to be just fine." For the first time in 12 years, I believe she was absolutely right. 4 months later, on the 4th Saturday of October, they arrived for our monthly family meeting at exactly 3 o'clock. Emma had been promoted to assistant manager at the grocery store, earning $17.25 an hour. Michael had learned to balance their budget without expecting miracles to happen. "Grandma!" Sophie bounded through my front door in her soccer uniform, grass stains on her knees and a shiny medal around her neck. "Look what I won at the big tournament." "That's absolutely wonderful, sweetheart. Tell me about the winning goal you scored." While Sophie told me all about her athletic victories, Jake showed me his report card, straight A's, and a note from his teacher praising his improved attitude and confidence. Emma set a thick manila folder on my coffee table. "Mom, here's this month's budget review. We're covering the house payment, utilities, groceries, and car payment entirely from our combined salaries. We even started a small emergency savings account." Michael, who 4 months ago couldn't look me in the eye, now joined our discussions with genuine respect. "Sarah, I wanted to ask your advice about a potential promotion opportunity at work. The regional manager position might open up next quarter. What would it involve?" "More responsibility, better salary, but also some travel. I wanted to make sure Emma and I could handle the children's schedules if I'm away occasionally." I opened my own folder, organized with typical nurse precision. Jake's soccer league fee paid directly to Colorado Youth Sports. Sophie's piano lessons, handled through Mountain Music Academy. Both children's dental checkups are scheduled for next month, covered under my family insurance plan. Emma smiled with a genuine expression I hadn't seen in years. Mom, I can't thank you enough for keeping their lives stable while we figured out how to be actual responsible adults. Speaking of being adults, Michael added, we completed the community service hours Judge Martinez assigned after our public apology letters. Volunteering at the homeless shelter was really eye-opening. We met families genuinely struggling, not just living beyond their means like we were. Sophie tugged on my sleeve. Grandma, can we show you the thank you cards we made at school? Both children pulled out construction paper cards decorated with glitter and heartfelt messages. Jake's read, "Thank you for taking care of us, even when Mom and Dad forgot to say please." Sophie's was simpler but perfect. "I love you, Grandma. You're the best." These weren't coached words or guilt-driven apologies. These were the authentic feelings of children who finally understood what love and security actually meant. "There's something else," Emma said quietly. "Michael and I have been talking about eventually buying a smaller house, something we can actually afford on our own income. Not immediately, but maybe in 3 years when we've built more savings." "That sounds like excellent planning." Michael nodded with pride. "We want to prove we can stand on our own 2 feet. Not because we don't appreciate your help with the kids, but because we need to respect what you've already given us." As the afternoon wound down, Jake asked the question that summarized everything perfectly. "Grandma, are you proud of us now?" I looked around my living room at my daughter, who had learned the real value of work, my son-in-law, who had swallowed his pride for his children's sake, and my grandchildren, who finally understood gratitude. "Yes, Jake. I'm very, very proud of all of you." They left as the sun was setting, Sophie's hand in mine as I walked them to their car. The same Honda that had replaced the fancy BMW. But somehow it looked less like a step down and more like a choice made with wisdom. Watching their tail lights disappear down my street, I realized David would have been proud too. Not of the money I'd spent or the control I'd finally taken, but of the family we'd become when respect replaced entitlement, and love replaced taking advantage. The revenge I'd wanted wasn't punishment at all. It was transformation. And sometimes that's the sweetest justice of all. Gindi. If you enjoyed this story, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to Granny's Voice, and share your thoughts about this story in the comments below. To listen to our next story, click on the box that appears on your screen. Thank you so much for watching and listening.